Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's the second episode of the Level 1 podcast for this week, and it's actually the last one. Forever. Just kidding. Just for this week. Why? Because starting tomorrow, we've got nonstop new release content, including the Marathon Beta and then Resident Evil Requiem. Because of that, I've opted to just do shorter morning shows for the next couple of days, meaning this is the loaded show for the week. And we're going to talk about a bunch of different topics, but notably, the major focus of today is on Xbox, because in the last week, there has been such a major change and shakeup at Xbox, we got to talk about it. It was on this very show that breaking news happened last Friday that Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond were stepping down and leaving Xbox. And so the entire industry has been abuzz and shaken up. And the truth is, everyone has a different take. Some people are sad to see Phil go. Some people are happy. The question is, what is the legacy of Phil Spencer? What did this man do when he was at Xbox? Are they better off because he was in charge for so long? Or are they really not better off at all from what happened when Don Matrick tanked the company with the launch of the Xbox One? Today, we will look at all of this, analyze it, and we're going to take a look at the situation regarding the Sarah Bond controversy, because for those who didn't know, she's basically being accused of spearheading initiatives such as the This is an Xbox campaign, and one of the major reasons why Xbox is in the hot water it's in right now. So we will look at all of this analytically today and hopefully come to some interesting conclusions. But we'll talk about all kinds of other stuff, including I just ordered a controller and another controller for the Switch 2. We'll talk about that because we've been talking about that over the last week, that I was going to get some for the upcoming marathon and more. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about today. All right. It is the only podcast for the week outside of the one from Sunday. So hope you're ready. We're going to have some good fun. Sit back and relax, everyone. It is time for the Level 1 podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. It's the Level 1 podcast for Wednesday, the 25th of February, 2026. Now, today is the calm before the gaming storm. What do I mean by that? Well, basically starting tomorrow, we've got a pretty hefty lineup of nonstop new stuff that's going to be coming out between the Marathon Beta, Resident Evil Requiem, then in March, pretty nonstop releases. Not constant, but for the first time this year, we are going to have a lot of new release stuff to tackle and cover and, be playing on this channel. And that means that a lot of the stuff that we've been doing as downtime stuff may take a back seat. The good news is we're almost done with some of the stuff we've been playing for a while. Like Hollow Knight, I think we're going to probably finish within a couple of streams. And we are currently seeking other indie games to kind of fill in the gaps between what we're doing. Hey, if we've got new release stuff to take up that time, then it doesn't really matter, does it? So we are, for the first time here in 2026, about to hit a time when there's a lot of heavy, big AAA releases and exciting stuff happening. That's a good thing. It's good to have more than enough than not enough. And I think we're about to start eating plenty, especially those of us who are gamers who've been waiting for the big stuff this year. It's finally going to start hitting. And so today really is the last day of being kind of calm before the storm. And what I mean by that is Today is more chill. We're going to be doing Dragon Quest VII Reimagined after the podcast on this stream. And then tonight we're doing another Indies Exploration stream where you guys will be voting for indie games to try out, and we'll test them on stream and see if they're any good. And perhaps some of those games will actually become part of my rotation, and maybe we'll never play them again. You know, you never know when you do an Indies tryout night. You might find a hidden gem and something that you never knew about, or you might just see, all right, well, I know what those games are now, and I'll never play them again. I mean, case in point, we played 3 games, on Monday, and the games were Mugenics, which is the new game from the Binding of Isaac and Meat Boy creator, a kiddie platforming game called Curiosity, okay, and a first-person action survival RPG hybrid that has roguelike elements called Mortal Sin. And after playing all 3 of those games, I felt like all of them were fine, if that makes sense. Like, all of them are fine games in their own right. Mortal Sin, there's a lot going on. Seems like the game actually would get more interesting when you unlock new classes rather than just the melee class where you're swinging with a giant sword. But it seems like it would be an addictive formula you can get hooked on. The Curiosity cat platforming game is essentially just a spin on the formula of those going up games where all you're doing is platforming on zany things and you just keep going up. But if you fall, you basically have to start over. You remember those games, like kind of like Getting Over It? And the game is cute in its own right. It has fun elements, but I think that's more of like a chill game where it's more of us hanging out and interacting and talking while I'm playing the game as background noise rather than a major focus on the game, if that makes sense. And I think it could work every once in a while to go back to, right? And then we got Mugenics, which, to be honest with you, I didn't expect to be what it was. I didn't know that Mugenics was a turn-based, grid-based RPG at all. I never got that impression. And after playing it, I'm like, geez, this plays like Final Fantasy Tactics. This plays like South Park, The Fractured But Whole. In some ways, it plays like Baldur's Gate 3. And I'm not convinced that that is going to work as a game in my rotation because I don't think people really come out for that style of game. So after having played all those games Monday, it's not like any of them are bad. It's not like I'm against playing them, but I just don't know if they would work. And so tonight, we're doing another Indies tryout. It's going to be 3 more new games. We'll see what you guys come up with because you'll be voting again. And maybe we'll find something. Maybe we won't. But these nights are fun because it's a variety of stuff. It's interesting stuff. I always like, trying out new stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We did find some great games earlier this year, including Sharks and Minnows, Terminator 2D, No Fate, Hellmart, and more. So maybe we'll find something else tonight. I guess we'll see. Okay? Okay. So that's what I mean. Today is more of a chillax day. Tomorrow, with this Marathon beta, and of course Street Fighter 6, and then on Friday with Resident Evil Requiem all day, we're going to be very, very busy with new release content. In fact, if Marathon is good, and people want to see it again, there's a chance I may try to play it again on Sunday. But I guess that really depends on how much people like it and if I like it or not. It is an extraction shooter, but it's first person rather than third person like Arc Raiders is. It's likely going to have elements that are similar to Halo because Bungie pretty much only knows how to make Halo. So I would assume this is Halo Part 3. Halo Part 1 was first-person shooter, action, story game. Halo, or I should say, Destiny and Destiny 2 was Halo as an MMO. This is going to be Halo as an extraction shooter, right? And that might not be a bad thing, okay? But it could still be fun. So let's see. Let's see tomorrow together if it's any good. I am excited to give it a go. And like I said, if it goes well, we may play it again like a Sunday night slate stream or not. We'll find out if we like it tomorrow. So I'm excited. I hope that all of you are too. It's going to be a good few days coming up here. But today, let's talk about Xbox. All right? Let's do it. I want to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this ever since Friday. And we haven't had a chance. And I'm excited that now we're going to analyze the situation. I've got all the data that I want to talk about lined up. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about how Phil Spencer came to power at Xbox, what he did when he was there, okay? We're going to talk about the Sarah Bond debacle of the last few years, and then we're going to say, what's the future? So this should be an exciting segment. Now, before we get to all of that, I'd like to say good morning to everyone, see what's up, see what's on everyone's mind. And I also want to talk about the, I want to talk about some controllers that I actually got for Switch 2 that are going to be coming today. So likely we'll probably do maybe like an unboxing in the next day or two on the morning show. And these are going to be used for the upcoming marathon that I'm doing on Friday, March 6th. For those who don't know, it is DSP's Retrothon. Now that we're getting closer to it, I will likely set up a actual stream, ahead of time for it. I'll probably make a thumbnail for it. You can bookmark it. You can get excited for it. People have wanted retro games, right? You're going to get them. On Friday, March 6th, it's the Retrothon. We're going to go into Nintendo Switch Online on my Switch 2, into the expansion pass, and we're going to be playing games that you guys have already nominated, including awesome ones such as Star Fox 64, Double Dragon 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Genesis, the original Luigi's Mansion, Soul Calibur 2, and more. Okay, that's just a few that have been nominated. I'm sure we're going to come up with more between now and then and during that marathon. So it should be exciting. And I'm going to have 2 retro-style controllers. Well, okay, let me put it this way. I got 1 retro-style controller directly via your suggestions. You said 8-bit dough. I don't know if it's 8-bit do or 8-bit dough, but I say dough. 8-bit dough apparently makes really good retro-style controllers and Switch 2 controllers in general. So I got the 8-bit dough controller that is supposed to look like the Super Nintendo controller. Now, I actually have no clue if it will play like the Super Nintendo controller. I don't know if it's larger or smaller. It's impossible to tell when you're ordering stuff online. But we'll find out sooner rather than later because it's coming today. I also ordered a third-party controller that's kind of like the Nintendo Pro controller, or I should say the Switch Pro controller, but it's not. It's their version. And to be honest, I think I have more confidence that a third party will do better than Nintendo because I bought the Nintendo Pro controller for Switch 1 pretty much at the launch of the Switch 1. And that thing was expensive. It was like $70 or $80 at launch, and it was a broken piece of garbage. The D-pad literally never worked on it, so I couldn't play fighting games. If you remember, the whole idea was I was going to play Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the final challengers, with that controller, and it just didn't work. You couldn't do charge moves. You couldn't. It just wouldn't even hold a direction. It was so busted. So after that, I basically lost a lot of faith in Nintendo, and then come to find out, they pretty much botched everything that generation. I mean, even the Joy-Cons were drifting constantly. So basically, I got a controller from a popular third-party company. Now, they are licensed to make controllers for the Switch. It's not like, oh, they just make them and they're bootleg. Nintendo has them licensed, okay? I actually got one that has some nice design, and it was cheaper than the more generic one. And I started to look into it. Yeah, if you look for controllers that basically have specific game designs or coloring schemes, they're cheaper than the generic. Like the generic black controller is more expensive. I think it's because it's more generic. So more people are like, oh, it applies to anything. The one I got actually is a fun Pokemon design. It actually has Pokemon characters on it. And I was like, I'm okay with that. So I hope it's good, because if it is, this will be the controller that likely I will be using for major gameplay on the Switch 2. Like any major game that I play, I'll use this controller. And then if I'm going to do retro stuff, I'll use the 8-bit dough controller. Okay, that's why I bought 2, because it's 2 different situations. You want one that's more classic for retro games. You want one that's more modern for modern games, right? Like if I'm going to play Luigi's Mansion on there or whatever, I probably want to use the more modern controller. Make sense? So, this should be fun. I'm excited. They're coming today, but they're not coming till later this afternoon. So I can't do an unboxing today on this show or anything, but maybe tomorrow, we'll see. And go from there. But yeah, it should be fun. So 2 controllers, 1 retro, 1 more modern, both coming. We'll do an unboxing. I'll test them with the Switch 2 next week. And it should be a fun event on Friday, March 6th. So mark your calendars. Be here all day Friday, March 6th for the big Retrothon that I'm doing here on DSP Gaming. Good stuff. Okay. So let's see. We actually have a couple shout outs to do before we get to anything. We have Typical Average Gamers, who started off today with a $5 super chat and asks, if the Marathon beta doesn't go well, will you play the full release? Well, I mean, here's the thing. The full release is only out in a few weeks. If you're not aware, it comes out like middle of March. And I have no confidence that if the beta sucks, that the final game will be good. because they don't have enough time to really tweak this game to make it better. And it's $40, so it's not a super expensive game, but I don't feel like they're going to like completely go back to the drawing board. Like, let's say the beta comes out and everyone's like, wow, this beta sucks. I don't foresee the full game doing well. I really do feel like this beta that they're doing this weekend is make or break for them. Now, they are Bungie, and Bungie has pretty good track record of games that are polished, games that look nice. Maybe they don't play the best, but they do look nice, right? So I'm not expecting this beta to be like an atrocity or anything. It may just be that the gameplay loop isn't appealing to most people or some people. I don't know if it's going to be appealing to me. I only played Arc Raiders as a frame of reference for extraction shooters. So I'm going to be making, obviously, direct references to Arc Raiders, right? I guess we will have to see how it goes tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, if I don't like the beta, why would I buy the final game? Right? I mean, I'll compare that directly to last year. I tried the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves beta. I didn't really like it, so I skipped the game. And guess what? I certainly do not regret that whatsoever, because I think that that was the right choice, because City of the Wolves is pretty dead and no one really talks about it. And by the way, thank you to Hail Yay for sending me... Is it Hail Ye or Hail Yay? It's Yay, like Kanye, right? So Hail Yay for sending me a zombie. As you sent me the zombie, this weird song started playing and it completely distracted me. What is this song? Acoustic drum medium happy rock. It sounds like a barnyard song. Thumbs down and let's go to the next one. That is not medium happy rock. That's like freaking farm music, farmhouse music. Anyway, Hail Ye, or is it Yay? How do you say your name? Is it Hail Ye or Hail Yay? I get confused. They did a $2 Australian super chat and says, do you trust the new Xbox CEO? Well, I don't really know much about them besides what we've heard in the media, and the media is not treating it very well. I guess we can talk about it, right? I guess we could talk about it because, basically, a lot of people are saying this person who is now the new Xbox CEO or in charge of Xbox has no gaming experience whatsoever, previously was in charge of AI exclusively, all right, has had a bunch of fake stuff made about them in the last week to act like they're a gamer when they're not. And you know what? That's typical corpo behavior. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's what you would expect. And it's weird because you get that and you're like, well, I don't understand. Why are they acting like this? Well, it's because that's how normal corporations act. You have had Phil Spencer in charge of Xbox for so long, you forgot that Phil Spencer isn't like a corporate guy. Like, he doesn't behave like a corporate guy. So because of that, his behavior's been a little different, and now you're getting the typical corporate nonsense back, and you're, oh, what happened? I'm not used to it. Well, that's how it usually is. I mean, do you think that over at Ubisoft, where Yves Guillemot is a gamer, do you think that the head of Sony is a gamer? You know what I'm saying? They're not. These are corporate people put into positions of power to make money. That's it. That's the only reason they're there. They're not put there because they know anything about games, because they care about gamers or gamer culture. They're only put there to print money. And so Xbox is going back to that formula, and people are just not used to it because for over a decade, Phil Spencer was in charge. Like, whoa, well, I'm not used to, being all about the money. Well, guess what? We're back in business because that's what Xbox wants, or excuse me, that's what Microsoft wants after a decade of Phil Spencer bleeding them dry, essentially. Okay? So, we will get to all of this, okay? So, thank you to Hail Ye. Again, I don't know why or how to say your name. What's up, Chris? So, let's say good morning to everyone. All right, how's everyone doing today? Let's see. We've got Copium, the Don Toothpick Tom, Jadium, Rose is here, Rose Diamonds, Pizza Time, Chaos Goblin, People Person, Daniel, the Villain. Of course, Hail Ye. It's Ye, isn't it? Because it's weird because his name is Kanye, but don't you say his name as Ye? Maybe it's Ye. Tell me how to fucking say his name. All right. You're not funny. Who else is here? Chris, Muckman, Grandmaster Scrub, Bave Lines, Demolition Daddy, and more. Over on the kick side, who do we got? Prince of Hope, Stolen Valor, Rodney Trotter, Supportive Support, Weatherman Vernacular. Haven't heard this one yet. This must be a new one. Weatherman Vernacular. Starboy, Sisyphus Boulder, and more. So thank you guys. Oh, Spoons is over there too. I see you, Spoons. What's going on, man? How's everyone doing today? AIC Headbanger, Ramrod, how are you guys this morning? What's up, what's up? So, we will begin talking about Microsoft in just a second. You're not funny. You're not banned. What are you talking about? Huh? You're not funny. You tipped me $1 saying you're banned, but you're not banned. You're in chat right now. Unless you're saying this isn't you. Hold on. Let me look. Maybe this isn't him. Maybe this is a faker. Oh, maybe it's a fake. Let me check. It might be. He might have an impersonator. Let's see. The page won't. Oh, the page's frozen. That's great. No, you're not banned. Yeah, you're not banned, so I don't know why you're saying you're banned. You can talk. I'm confused. Maybe his message got deleted and he thought he got banned, but he's talking in chat. So anyway, thanks for the first $1. You're not funny. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, you're totally not banned in my chat. Okay. Who knows? You're not funny. You can talk, right? Because you just talked a little bit, like 2 minutes ago. Yeah. And I just checked. It says you're not funny, so. Okay. All right. So, anyway, guys. I would like to get to the subject at hand because I feel like this is going to take a big chunk of the show up today. All right. I want to talk about Xbox. All right. Real briefly, let's honestly talk about the history of Xbox. All right. When Xbox entered the console gaming market in the early 2000s, quite frankly, it was a huge gamble for Microsoft, and not a lot of people really took it seriously. Up to that point, okay, Microsoft had been known for making Windows, an operating system, and a bunch of productivity software like Microsoft Office, right? No one thought, oh, this is a game development company that was going to be a serious force in the gaming landscape. And so when they decided in the early 2000s they wanted to step up and compete with the giants like Nintendo and then Sony, which had a very successful PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, it was big news. Wow, Microsoft is tossing all of this money into the gaming arena. Is this going to change the face of video games? At first, it didn't. At first, I remember the Xbox didn't really sell well. Outside of the United States, it almost didn't exist at all. And even in the United States, it was absolutely third place. Everyone thought PlayStation was the major console and that Nintendo, whatever they were doing at that time, I believe it was the GameCube, was always the next runner-up. And then, you know, hey, Xbox is there, but really, why do I need an Xbox? And to be honest, Xbox didn't really take off until Halo 2. I distinctly remember when Halo 2 came out, I had friends who were like trying to convince me to buy an Xbox. And I was like, I have a PS2 and I have all the fighting games on there. I have a gaming PC and I play things like, you know, Unreal Tournament on there and stuff. Why on earth do I need an Xbox? And they were like, oh, you don't understand. It's a cultural phenomenon. Okay. We are now going to be doing gaming on there because of Halo 2. It's this game where it's a first-person shooter. Everyone's playing it. You just got to get in on, right? And I remember at first resisting, and partially the reason I bought my original Xbox was because it had Capcom versus SNK 2 on it, and it had online capabilities. It also had Street Fighter 3 Third Strike on it with online capabilities. So it was the first time ever you could play fighting games across the internet against people all over the world. And it blew me away that you could do that. Like, up to that point, you had to be there in person, whether at an arcade or, you know, on the console at a tournament. You couldn't play over the internet. So I ended up buying the console and being underwhelmed with the online performance of the fighting games because it was laggy as shit. And then I played Halo 2. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it. Why? Because I had a gaming PC. I was playing Unreal Tournament and Quake and shit online. that was light years ahead of Halo 2. But Halo 2 became culturally synonymous with mainstream gaming because it was accessible. Does that make sense? For me to play the games that I was playing on PC, I needed to build a high-end gaming PC, which was expensive, which took technical know-how at the time. Today, I assume it's probably been made much more streamlined and easy. Back then, it wasn't, okay? The common person who wanted to be in on competitive gaming didn't want to spend all that money and time. They just wanted to do it. And if you bought the Xbox for however expensive it was back then, let's say $300-$400, you just buy that in Halo 2, boom, you're online and you're playing against thousands of people in a game that everyone's talking about, and it was a cultural phenomenon. It really was. But for me, it was like a non-event. I didn't really care because I already had stuff that was better. I was playing the original Call of Duty on PC. Why did I want to play Halo 2 on Xbox, right? For me, it wasn't until the Xbox 360 launched that I feel that Microsoft was really now being taken massively seriously as a big competitor. Meaning, the Xbox 360 had groundbreaking graphics, had really good online capabilities. In my opinion, had the best voice chat of any console at the time. And the people who made the Xbox 360 were listening to the gamers and giving them exactly what they wanted. They were giving them a social online experience, but also giving them great exclusive games. The Xbox 360 era was when Microsoft hit their stride as a game developer and a console manufacturer, right? They were pumping out amazing first-party titles such as Halo 3 and all the offshoots. Gears of War, okay, which was huge, a big cultural thing at the time. Everyone wanted to be playing Gears of War and everyone was talking about it, right? Fable, big thing in RPG gaming because it was a casualized, accessible RPG that anyone could play, but you could choose how you wanted to play it, if you wanted to be good or bad or whatever. So, at the launch of Xbox 360, Microsoft was, boom, hitting it on all cylinders, and they capitalized on a big fumble by Sony. When Sony launched PS3, they launched it way too expensive. They included features that you didn't need that costed more, and the console didn't actually run games well at launch. Now, that changed over time as they re-engineered things about the game development cycle for PS3. But PlayStation 3 at launch was actually a mess. Like, they would put games head-to-head. Oh, look, here's the new Madden on Xbox 360. Here's the new Madden on PS3. It runs horribly on PS3. So your choice, the console of choice, was to get the Xbox 360 at the time. And Microsoft gained a monstrous market share. They all of a sudden were outselling PlayStation, and it was like, what? Like, we never expected that. Now, to be fair, Nintendo also was hitting it on all cylinders with the Wii. The difference was it was a different customer base, okay? If you were into more casualized kiddie games with silly motion controls and you didn't care about the graphics, you would then buy the Wii. If you were into serious gaming and more adult situations, you know, mature games, horror games, bloody, gory shooters and things, you would buy an Xbox 360. It almost was like if you were like a hoity-toity, oh, I have a lot of money to spend, then you would get the PS3, but honestly, you wouldn't even get as many features at the time as everyone else was getting. Now, ultimately, things did not continue to go Microsoft's way. By the end of that console generation, sadly, the Xbox 360 had failed to keep that market share. PlayStation decided to try to fix their error and course correct, which they did, by lowering the price of the PlayStation 3, by removing backwards compatibility, by taking some of the crappy features out that no one cared about to save money and cut corners, and to help game developers start developing for the console better, so that way you didn't have the issues with the graphics anymore. So actually, by the end of that generation, Microsoft, who had led at the beginning with the 360, was faltering, and PlayStation was on an upward trend, looking like they were going to once again overtake and become the dominant force in serious console gaming. And so, our story really begins around the beginning of the Xbox One era with Don Matrick in charge of Xbox, okay? By the way, shout out to Gabernator, who became a super supporter this afternoon. Thank you so much for your support, Gabernator. That is a high-end membership, and therefore it helps the channel a little bit more. I get about $7 from that. So thank you so much, Gabernator, for the support. Very nice. So now let's start talking about the launch of the Xbox One and Don Matrick. Okay, so Don Matrick basically was in charge of Xbox 360, especially during the end of its tenure and the beginning and the launch of Xbox One. And Don Matrick is a corpo. What does that mean? It means he's very much a corporate guy. He's very much a rich guy. He very much thinks about money. And that's how he strategizes, okay? He's not a gamer. He's not a guy that says, hey, this is going to be a great thing for the gaming community, and these are games that people want. No, money. How can we position ourselves to make money, okay? During the end of the Xbox 360's run, basically, Microsoft was losing market share like crazy. PlayStation had positioned themselves to be more competitive, both with its architecture and development, of games not having the problems anymore, and being a console that they dropped their price. So the reasons people had gravitated towards the 360 had essentially been negated at this point. And so with the launch of the Xbox One, Don Matrick wanted to do something very different. He said, we got to make Xbox the number one piece of equipment in anyone's house for entertainment. We don't just want to be games. We also want to be movies. We also want to be TV. We want to be the one-stop shop place for all of your entertainment stuff in your house, okay? But in addition to that, he also said, we want to be innovative. We want to do things differently. And he was looking at what Nintendo had done during the Wii era and said, well, by innovating with these motion controls, everyone wanted to have an Xbox in their house. Excuse me, a Wii in their house. Well, Xbox wants that. So what's going to be our catch, right? What's going to be the thing that's going to allow us to be different and to stand out, and everyone's going to say, we want this piece of technology. And so Don Matrick came out with this strategy, okay? The Xbox One, meaning the one piece of equipment. You were going to be able to play games on it, and for the first time ever, the games were going to be digital. Meaning, even though, yes, you could buy physical copies of the games on Xbox One, the idea was that every game was tied to a digital license, so it was easy to digitally download these games instantly off the internet. His idea was eventually you're not going to have the physical discs anymore. It's all going to be just tied to licensing inside of the box. That's a good and bad thing. Maybe Don Matrick was ahead of his time, all right? Because when you really think about that idea, you think, well, today that's how it is, right? Today, most people don't go to the store and buy the physical copy. In fact, when you go and buy the physical copy and you put the disc into your console or PC, it usually just starts downloading the game off the internet anyway, because the game's not even on the disc, right? I mean, even Nintendo does this now with their game carts or whatever they are, you know what I'm saying? So it's all like that today, but we're talking 2012. We're talking 13, 14 years ago when the world hadn't yet seen this happen. And so Don Matrick's idea of a digital-only landscape kind of was so far ahead of its time that people revolted against the idea, all right? And one of the things that tied in with this was, if everything's digital, then how do you ever have a used game? How would I ever go to the store and buy a used game if really what you're doing is buying a game license and not a game? And the answer that Don Matrick gave was, you can't. There's no used games anymore. Like, this is basically going to crush the used games market, because everything's a digital license and you'll get it once when you buy the game, and that's it. You can't just hand your game to your friend and they put it in their console and they play it. It won't work. So people revolted against this idea of no used games. What the hell is Don Matrick thinking? Okay. Also, Don Matrick decided that every single Xbox One was going to include the freaking Kinect. Now, that was likely the blunder. Okay. Really, that was likely the blunder. And what I mean by that is, this, just including the Kinect, all right, was such a blunder. It made the cost of the Xbox One expensive at launch for no reason. Like, the thing was, some people like motion controls with the Wii U. There was a Kinect that was sold for the Xbox 360. Guess what? It didn't sell that well, all right? A lot of people didn't want to adopt it, and those that did, notably me, I bought it, didn't like it. it really didn't work that well. It needed a ginormous empty room with great lighting to actually work. Who games in a giant, well-lit room at all times? Not a lot of people. And therefore, you have an expensive piece of equipment that doesn't really work for most people, and you're forcing people to buy it because you've bundled it with your new console. It was a very bad idea. But Don Mattrick, again, he was basically looking forward to the future, right? Where people thinking, oh, if everyone has a Kinect, then everyone could have VR and everyone can have all this stuff. And it didn't work because the people weren't there with him in his vision. Not saying that his visions were all horrible, but basically you have to be aligned with your customer base. And Don Mattrick was so far disconnected from reality and where customers were at the time that it was very easy for Sony to swoop in and take advantage of the situation, which is exactly what they did. So at the time that the Xbox One launched, basically, Don Mattrick had been beaten down and bloodied. And what I mean by that is he literally was made the scapegoat and poster child for all of Microsoft's problems, okay? The fact that the Xbox One launched at a high price point, the fact that it was bundled with the Kinect, the fact that people had misconceptions because Microsoft dialed back the idea of going digital only, dialed back the idea of everything tied to a digital license. It was just like any other console where you could buy a game, you could put it in, you could trade, you could, trade in, you could borrow with your friends. They fixed that issue that people didn't like, but most people didn't know that. Most people, they have what they say is first impressions are everything. So they heard that the Xbox One was going to have this feature, this license feature, and then they just didn't want to buy it. So even though they went back on what they were originally going to do, it didn't matter. Most people said, I don't want an Xbox One. So the Xbox One way undersold at launch compared to what Microsoft had hoped based on the sales of the Xbox 360. Meanwhile, PlayStation had their PS4 coming out, and they literally had an entire campaign based on how they're better than the Xbox One. We don't force a camera into our box and our price is cheaper because of it. We're not trying to get you to watch television through our console, which was a ludicrous concept at the time that Microsoft was trying to do. Make your Xbox One is your console TV box. You're going to have cable TV coming through the Xbox, and we'll DVR all of it. That was insane. Who the hell was looking to put a DVR into their console at the time? No one. Hey, they even did, I even remember that video that they put out. It was the two guys in charge of Sony, and one guy goes, hey, here's how you can actually share games on the PlayStation 4. And he's like, hey, Joe, take this. And he was like, oh, thanks. Okay, that's it. We shared games. And that was it. And it destroyed Xbox, who couldn't do it. They were like, oh, well, we weren't going to do that. We were going to have the licensing thing, right? So, yeah, basically Sony took such advantage of Don Mattrick jumping off the deep end with his ideas. Boom. Xbox got destroyed. So at launch, Xbox One was way, way, way behind anything that they had planned on with the launch of this new console. Hence, now Xbox needed to be shaken up. And so, enter the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Spencer. For those who don't know, Phil Spencer has worked at Microsoft for 38 years. He started off in the late 1980s working on productivity apps. Yeah, he entered Microsoft. By the way, he's not rich. He wasn't a silver spoon in the mouth born guy. He actually went to the University of Washington right out here near where I live, okay? And he started as an intern in 1988. He started working on productivity apps and did so all throughout the 1990s, eventually earning enough favor in the company that they started giving him more responsibilities. He actually worked as part of the launch team for the original Xbox console. He worked on all the iterations of the Xbox consoles over the years. And so finally, by the time that Don Mattrick was in power and fumbling the Xbox One, Phil Spencer had positioned himself in the company as someone who was dependable, someone who knew games, because guess what? Phil Spencer was a gamer. Unlike Don Mattrick and unlike a lot of these corpos who had been in charge of these companies at the time, Phil Spencer was a guy like you and me. He wore gamer t-shirts and jackets, right? He said that he put hundreds of hours of gaming under his belt in a year. He wasn't some guy who just sold games. He He was a guy who played and enjoyed games. And so when they put Phil Spencer in charge and they kicked Don Matrick out shortly after the launch of the Xbox One, I don't think it could have been a more different persona. Like, just taking a look, right? Phil Spencer, take a look at him. He looks like he's a happy-go-lucky guy. He looks like a college bro, right? Like, this is the kind of guy who you could sit down and play hours of Halo with, or Diablo, or whatever it is. Look at Don Matrick. He looks like the definite corpo, right? He's got the haircut. He's already, look, even this press photo, he's wearing a dress shirt. He couldn't ever wear a t-shirt in a press photo, right? It's not allowed. You have to always be dressed for work, correct? And again, Phil Spencer exudes that college look, does he not? So there you have it. Now, Phil Spencer takes control of Xbox in 2014 after the flopped launch of Xbox One. He did a lot in the 12 years that he was in charge of Xbox. So it's hard to kind of put it into perspective because there's so much going on. Let's take a look. Here's some of the notable things that Phil Spencer did while he was in charge of Xbox. So, number one, Xbox Game Pass. All right? Phil Spencer 100% spearheaded, championed, launched, and successfully operated a subscription-based program, which a lot of people called Netflix for games. By paying a monthly fee, you get access to all of these games at a one flat rate. You don't have to buy them outright anymore. Okay? You know, notably, a lot of these games that are $30, $40, $50, $60+ a lot of people don't want to drop money on that because it's a gamble. We don't know if the game's going to be good. But if you had Xbox Game Pass for under $20 a month, you could get access to a ton of games that would then be in your on-demand library, and you could test them out. And if you like them, keep playing them. And if you don't, right? Now, the catch is you need to keep paying this monthly subscription fee. But it worked. And I mean, to be honest, out of all the things that Phil Spencer did, I actually believe that the whole Game Pass idea is probably the best thing he ever did because it made gaming way more accessible to the common gamer. Someone who maybe doesn't have the ability to just drop a ton of money, okay, and then still wants to be able to play a variety of games or a library of games. It's a great idea, okay? Now, the implications of Game Pass, we don't truly know, because the truth is, we were never privy to the information of the relationship of Xbox, Game Pass, and what money these game developers and publishers are making as being a part of the Game Pass ecosystem. We don't know that if, for example, Tango Gameworks put out Hi-Fi Rush as an individual game that you bought outright, or it being part of Game Pass, we don't know how much money they made with each transaction. Maybe they make far less when someone downloads a game on Game Pass, or maybe that's a set number. Who knows? We don't know. We're not there. We're for the legal agreements, and they're never made public. So we don't know how much money these companies are making being on Game Pass. So is it a good thing for gamers? It is. Is it a good thing overall for the industry? That's a big question mark. We don't know if this overall helped or hurt the industry. Okay? Massive studio acquisitions. While Phil Spencer was in charge of Xbox for 12 years, they bought Bethesda, they bought Activision Blizzard, they bought tons more companies, okay? Tango Gameworks was one of them, notably, okay? They bought a ridiculous amount of companies up and put them under the ecosystem of Xbox. Now, that's a good and bad thing, and the reason I say that is because what we're actually going to do is take a look at which studios Xbox acquired versus which studios they closed, okay? So, biggest studios that they acquired was Mojang, who developed Minecraft, ZeniMax, Bethesda, who of course makes games such as Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Doom, and under that umbrella are id Software, Arcane Studios, Machine Games, and Tango Gameworks. Activision Blizzard, a humongous company, which they acquired for billions upon billions, $69 billion, and that includes Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Candy Crush, and more. And then all of these actual smaller studios as well. Playground Games, Ninja Theory, Undead Labs, Compulsion Games, Obsidian, In Exile, Double Fine, The Initiative, and more. This is just some. Okay? So, Xbox went on a spending spree under Phil Spencer. Let's buy up all of these games and studios and put them under our umbrella. Okay? But the problem with that is that when you go on a spending spree, you're expected to produce results. Meaning, if you're going to buy up all these companies, well, then you'd better have a definitive positive effect on buying those companies. Take a look at these games right here. Minecraft. So under the ownership of Xbox, has Minecraft expanded? Has Minecraft blew up even further? Has it become bigger, better? Arguably, you can say, well, there's games that were made, you know, as spin-offs of Minecraft that would have never existed if it wasn't bought by Xbox. Okay. But notably, outside of the fact that there's like multiple versions of it, there's the Java version, there's the other version, and then they merged the two. Has anything really notable happened with Minecraft since Xbox bought it? Not really. Okay. What about Bethesda? Well, Bethesda at one point was a giant, right? Do you remember when Bethesda did their own E3 press conference about a decade ago, and they announced games like Fallout 4 were coming out that very year, a new Doom was in development, people went crazy, and then Xbox bought them, okay? And since then, in 2020, can you name notable things that Bethesda has really done? Gee, let's see. Fallout 76, Fallout 76, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Online. They put out an underwhelming Doom game that underperformed last year. I could keep going on. So basically, since Bethesda was bought out by Xbox, they've gotten much worse. In fact, the best thing that's probably come out of Bethesda is the Fallout TV show, which Xbox still has not capitalized on because there's no games to sell to tie in with the TV show, so they really haven't benefited at all as a result of their game franchise going mainstream in TV. In addition, franchises that were actually known to be some of the biggest in the world, Call of Duty, with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, have actually been on the decline. Yeah, Call of Duty, which used to be the #1 selling game, no longer is the #1 selling game, and that's under the leadership of Xbox. Ouch. Now, in addition to what we're looking at here, how about what studios they closed? Because when you buy studios, you're under the impression that you're actually going to do something with them, right? But sadly, in some of these cases, for example, Arcane Austin, the developers of Redfall and Prey, closed. Tango Gameworks, who made The Evil Within and then went on to make the very successful and critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush, closed. Another company luckily bought them, and now they're making games again, but they had made a hit, and Xbox said, we're just going to close you anyway. Alpha Dog, Roundhouse Games. There's more than that. This is just a quick summary, but basically, they buy the studio, and then the studio fails for some reason other than, one than another. Sometimes they don't even fail. They make a great game like Hi-Fi Rush, and then they close the studio anyway. What the hell? Okay? So, going back to the notable list of things that Phil Spencer did as head of Xbox, the studio acquisitions are good if you get something good out of it. From the track record that we see, Xbox would buy a studio, put them under their umbrella, and immediately the studio would do worse. So that's not really a good thing, all right? Backwards compatibility. Phil Spencer championed the ability to play original Xbox and 360 games on newer consoles, strengthening the ecosystem. That's correct. In fact, that's one of the big things. The longevity and posterity of the Xbox library has, for the most part, been preserved through Phil Spencer's efforts. That's absolutely something to be lauded and applauded. However, what's happened is, it seems like they're leaning so much on the past, they forgot that you have to put out good games in the present, right? Like you say, oh, well, this is great because this entire library of games is available on Game Pass, and this entire library of games is backwards compatible. You could play Xbox Original, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S and X games all on the current console. That's great, but what new games did you put out that were good this year? Crickets. And that's the problem. That's a great initiative, but first and foremost, you're supposed to be a hardware manufacturer and a game developer. Make people want your console. No one wants to buy Xbox to play old games. They want to play new ones. The old games are a nice feature to have as part of the reason to own it, but ultimately you need to have a reason to own the console to begin with, hence new games. And when you're not putting out great new games, no one wants your console. Hardware innovation. Oversaw the release of the Xbox One S and powerful Xbox One X, followed by the Xbox Series X and S. I'm sorry, but listen, I don't dislike the current console of Xbox. I dislike the fact that this guy had absolutely no ability to tell what's catchy. Okay? Xbox 360 is catchy. It stands out. It sounds like nothing else out there. Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series XS. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're an idiot. No one understands any of that, especially a mainstream gamer, right? They're not into gaming. They're not a gaming nerd. They're not studying the hardware. You go to the store, like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what any of these consoles are. They all sound the same. You couldn't think of something better than you reusing the same 3 letters over and over? Like, what the fuck is your problem? It's terrible. The branding itself is awful and confusing, and it makes it that if I go to the store, I can buy the PlayStation 4, the 4 Pro, the 5, the 5 Pro. That makes sense. Xbox One, Xbox One S, One X, Series X, Series S makes no fucking sense. Okay? Cross-play and accessibility. Supported cross-platform play with competitors and launched the Xbox Adaptive Controller promoting inclusive gaming. That's great, but we're going to start talking about an initiative that actually may be one of the major reasons why Xbox has been tanking in just a moment, and it kind of ties into, not the accessibility part. The accessibility, inclusive gaming is good, but the cross-play, etc., we'll talk about in a sec. And then cloud gaming and PC expansion. Push Xbox beyond physical consoles into cloud streaming and strengthen the Xbox ecosystem on PC. Yes, and in fact, okay, so that's going to tie into this topic, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So that's going to tie into the Xbox Anywhere, Xbox Everywhere. This is an Xbox campaign that Phil Spencer championed in his time at Xbox, all right? And notably, I think we're going to start talking about this in a sec, that this may have been the ultimate downfall of Xbox and Phil Spencer. But before we do that, I have a couple shout-outs to do that I want to get to because I don't want to miss these that came in. We had May Contain Bleach gifted 10 memberships to the community. Thank you so much, May Contain Bleach, and my bad that it took me 20 minutes to shout it out, but as you saw, I was in the midst of a lot to talk about there. 10 memberships is a huge amount of support for this stream. Thank you so much. It's $30. Okay? Thank you, thank you. Huh? Someone just tipped $1 and says, I notice you do drama topics when you play Dragon Quest. What drama topic? This is gaming news. I don't know. Thanks for the buck. Stupid. Anyway. Yeah, this is real drama because we're talking about gaming news, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's continue. So, that's Phil Spencer's tenure and what he did in 12 years. Now, we also have Sarah Bond. You might say, Sarah Bond joined Xbox just a few years ago, all right? And you might say, well, what did she do? You know, what exactly happened when she was part of the company, okay? So, notable things Sarah Bond did as part of Xbox. Notably, she was promoted in 2023 to be the president of Xbox, okay? So, let's just take a look. She led the This Is an Xbox campaign, championed cloud gaming, and managed Activision Blizzard acquisition and expanded the Xbox platform. First off, you might say, who is Sarah Bond? She's a corpo. Okay? She's the antithesis of Phil Spencer. All right? She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She was in the UK when she was young, and for 10 years, she went from expensive school to expensive school. She eventually got into Princeton, then went to Harvard, then went to Yale. Okay? Rich. You can't go to those schools unless you're rich. All right? So, when she basically started working for Microsoft, she had every advantage possible, okay? She gets thrown in here at the president level in 2023, okay? Here's her initiatives since she worked there, okay? This is an Xbox campaign. Led to strategic marketing shift, positioning any screen, phones, TVs, PCs as an Xbox, emphasizing that a console is not required to play. Expansion of gaming ecosystem, focused on expanding Game Pass cloud gaming and bringing independent developers to the platform. Hardware and future strategy, conferred a multi-year partnership with AMD for future consoles and handhelds. and she was part of the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and industry representation, meaning she was front-facing, she was in interviews, she was in press events, she was the talking head of Xbox for a while, okay? So in reality, what did she actually do? Nothing. Nothing. She was just a face. She's the kind of person, grew up rich, everything handed to her, goes to every prestigious university. She got a bachelor in economics at Yale, her master's at Harvard, standard MBA, okay? And then immediately got thrown into the corporate world at high-end positions and has jumped from company to company ever since. Why? Why would you jump from company to company? This is part of the upper echelon class of people who basically fail up. Meaning, even if you're horrible at your job, you still excel. So she was literally hired to just be the person to smile at the camera, to answer questions in an interview, never actually say anything, just blow smoke up your ass. That's the Sarah Bond role as the president of Xbox. She didn't actually have to do anything, but just do what she was told, okay? So while Phil Spencer technically was making all of these decisions, she was the one who would be presenting those decisions to the public. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, notably, this week, people have been saying this right here, okay? That Sarah Bond was the champion of the This is an Xbox campaign, emphasizing that a console is not required to play, and this reportedly caused internal tension and declining hardware sales. Okay? I'd like to show you all something. Are you ready for this? This is what people aren't talking about, but should be. The Xbox Everywhere strategy, aimed at making Xbox services accessible on any device, rather than focusing solely on console hardware, began taking shape around 2016. Wait, what? But Sarah Bond became the president of Xbox in 2023, and everyone says it was her idea. Then how did it begin in 2016? Let's take a look. 2016 Play Anywhere initiative. Microsoft announced X Play Anywhere at E3 2016, allowing users to buy a digital game once and play it on both Xbox and Windows 10 PCs. That's right, they started the whole cross-play idea in 2016. February 2017, Game Pass, where if you had Game Pass, now your games carried over between PC and Xbox, no matter what. 2020, Cloud Gaming, the integration of cloud gaming. Does this all sound familiar? Yeah, it's all, this is the same campaign. It started a decade ago. So all the people today that are saying, well, Sarah Bond, it was Sarah Bond who did it. It was Sarah Bond who said, this is an Xbox, and it was Sarah Bond who championed the campaign. It wasn't her campaign. This campaign existed for a decade. Now, yes, in the last 1 to 2 years, the wording, this is an Xbox, the catchphrase started, and they actually started to do an ad campaign based on this, okay? But in this case, it's not Sarah Bond's idea. It never was, because she doesn't have any ideas. That's not her job, and it never was. If you take a look at all the companies she's worked for, all she ever is a face. She's a face who talks. They tell her what to say, she says it. They tell her what to do, she does it. She takes a giant paycheck to smile at a camera and say corpo speak. That's always been her role. So when you say, oh, Sarah Bond surrounded herself with an elite group of people, and basically if you didn't agree with her, she would shoot you down and you'd be, no. She's doing what she's told by Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer's in charge, not Sarah Bond. She literally just talks. That's it. And she gets a lot of money for it too. Her whole life, she was rich. Her whole life, she's received a paycheck to do nothing. You understand? And this is what people aren't talking about. They're like, oh, it's her. Why are you blaming her? She's just doing what she's there to do. Now, by the way, I'm not defending this or anything. I do think that the Xbox Anywhere Play, this is an Xbox campaign, is idiotic. I don't mind crossplay between PC and Xbox, but ultimately you need a reason to own an Xbox or else you've destroyed your own company. And literally that's what they did. So when this initiative started, that was the beginning of the end for Xbox. Because when you're saying, hey, you don't need to own an Xbox because you could just play this game on PC, well, wait a minute. So you're saying I could buy a gaming PC and I'm going to play all the awesome games Microsoft is developing and also all the third-party titles that are non-Xbox, obviously I'm going to get a gaming PC. If I want to be top of the line, I want to play all the best stuff. Why on earth would I limit myself just to the Xbox ecosystem by owning an Xbox Series X? It doesn't even make fucking sense. The only reason to own an Xbox Series X in that case is if you don't have a lot of money and you want to play a lot of games, so you get Game Pass. But outside of that one fact, it's the budget-friendly option, there's literally no other reason to own an Xbox console. So the moment that they launched the Play Anywhere initiative in 2016, that was the first nail in the coffin of Xbox. And that was Phil Spencer's baby. That was not Sarah Bond. That was Phil Spencer. He's the gamer bro, right? Oh, Mr. Hundreds of hours of gaming under the belt every year. He's the one who came up with the horrible fucking idea to make it a footnote that you need to own an Xbox console. And ever since the Play Anywhere initiative started, it's been downhill for Xbox. They started buying up all these companies, but then stopped releasing great games that you needed an Xbox console to play. So why do you need an Xbox? You don't. Okay? So what's happened is, essentially, in the last 12 years that Phil Spencer was part of Xbox, okay? Or I should say, in charge of Xbox, he exuded this mentality of, I'm a gamer bro like you. I'm the guy sitting next to the couch with you playing games, all right? In reality, he does like games, but he's just not smart when it comes to gaming culture, to gaming savvy, to what gamers want. Yes, he listens, but then he has these weird initiatives and ideas that just don't make sense if he's trying to push forward a gamer-first mentality. Like, okay, Game Pass makes sense because you're saving money for the gamer, but then what about actually making good games to put on Game Pass? He forgot about that part. Instead, he went off the deep end, just like Don Matrick did, only he did it in a way where he looked like a gamer, so people didn't dump on him. You know, Don Matrick, with the Xbox One launch, was very corpo. He was very uptight, suit-wearing, oh, I'm holier than thou. Remember what he said when someone questioned him and said, if you're doing online only or online required for all your games on Xbox One, what about someone who doesn't have great internet? And you know what his answer was? Well, for them, we got an answer. The Xbox 360, just stick with the old console. It's a very elitist answer. So if you can't get good internet, fuck you. You don't get the next and best. We don't care about you. You're in the past, and we're only going to deal with people who have money to have good internet. That's an awful response. And that's how Don Matrick was. When Phil Spencer came in, he became Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Big Smile, Mr. I'm the big presentable guy. He looked great on stage at E3. He seemed like a guy who you could play games with. But the ideas he had were bad. The thing was, because he was Mr. Nice Guy, no one noticed the ideas that he had were bad. And every time that he had a good one like Game Pass, right, he would try to use that to hide the fact that everything else was going wrong. So Game Pass is great, but now that Game Pass is live, where are all the good games? What happened to Halo? No, seriously, what happened to Halo, the biggest franchise Xbox had? It's now dead. No one talks about Halo. No one wants to play Halo. How did you kill it? What happened to Gears of War? Remember the notable franchise everyone wanted to play on Xbox? No one knows what's going on with it. The new game is nowhere in sight. What the fuck is going on? And this is the problem with Xbox. They bought up all these studios. They launched Game Pass. They tried to say Xbox everywhere. This is an Xbox. But what the fuck is Xbox? You don't have any games. So without any games, no one cares about Xbox. It doesn't matter whose talking head you hire. Some, rich silver spoon in the mouth woman named Sarah Bond who's, oh, we're so good and we're going to do it. You don't have anything to sell. You're selling nothing. You're literally a snake oil saleswoman. You're out there saying things that mean nothing because you have no fucking games. So it doesn't matter how nice you are, if you're Mr. Gamer, if you're the talking head that everyone likes to look at. It doesn't matter because you have nothing to sell anyone. Zero products. With no product, you can't make money. That's a problem. So people might be saying now, what's going on at Xbox? Why is Phil Spencer out? Why is Sarah Bond out? It's very simple. Microsoft is a company in a business of making money, okay? For 25 plus years, this was a gamble. They started back in the early 2000s. It was a big chance that they took trying to get into the console gaming market. They put a lot of time and effort into it. And now, over the last decade, they have systematically seen their profits on games go like this. Even though they're investing $100 billion into buying other studios, they have had no profits from it. So why are they going to continue to invest in games? Okay? When you ask the question, I wonder why they have someone, a CEO now, who's going to take over Xbox Gaming, who's into AI. Why do you think? Because Xbox is not the focus of Microsoft at this point, because they're not making any money. So basically, they're going to put someone in charge who used to run AI, who's now either going to right the ship or is going to sunset that ship. Does that make sense? What's going to happen is one of two things. Either really quick, they're going to change course and they're going to find a way to make Xbox profitable, or they're going to close it. I mean that too. Like, they're either going to change Xbox from being a game developer into just a platform to distribute games. They'll be like, Game Pass will be it. We distribute games. We don't even make them anymore, right? And what you might realize, well, that doesn't sound good. You're right, it shouldn't. They just bought up all these game studios. Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to fucking lay all those people off. We're talking thousands of jobs, maybe tens of thousands of jobs. Because Microsoft's going to say, there's no profit in games anymore. Oh, well, we'll just focus on AI, which is making us money, and they're going to cut the cord. And they just bought all these studios, these giant studios, Activision Blizzard, Bethesda. They're going to dump them. And now these studios are going to be left, what are we doing? We're going out of business. And all these developers are going to be thrown into the muck with nothing to do. So, yeah, it's a big problem. Phil Spencer not only blew it, but he might have done irreparable harm to the games industry because he lost his way. And instead of thinking about what the most important thing about video game development is, games, he basically destroyed his own company from within. It was like the cancer you didn't know about until it was only stage 4, and now it's too late. So they had to cut the cancer out. But now, can you fix this problem that Xbox had? I don't think so. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't look good. When you have someone in charge, it would be one thing if they took someone and said, here's an industry insider from another company that's a game company that's been doing well, and we're going to position them to be head of Xbox to save it. They didn't do that. They particularly chose someone who has nothing to do with games and put them in charge of games. That's not a good sign. That means they probably don't care. They just want this person to run Xbox for a few years, and then probably they're going to sunset it. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they will find a way to right the ship, but I'm curious how they're going to do that. Right now, all of their high-end game developers, okay, are doing poorly. At all the companies that they bought out, okay, Mojang, Minecraft. Did you hear Minecraft making record profits? Minecraft's still notable, but is a shell of its former self. Do you see what I'm saying? And in that regard, sadly, I don't think that Minecraft's going to do anything for them, and neither is Mojang. ZeniMax Media, Bethesda Softworks, right? Do you know of any Fallout game coming out anytime soon? Todd Howard just said they are years out from the new Elder Scrolls. So what are they putting out? Live service games, right? Updates to Fallout 76 and updates to, Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah, that's a revenue source, but that's not going to keep the entire company afloat. They need to be putting out new products people want, and they're not doing that. Instead, they're making Doom: The Dark Ages, which is underperforming. So, what are they doing? Nothing. Activision Blizzard, they just put out arguably the worst Call of Duty ever, which has massively underperformed sales-wise, review-wise, in every way, shape, and form. It's not even making them as much money as they were hoping. World of Warcraft isn't really doing much, right? I mean, yeah, maybe you can argue maybe Diablo at least is there. It's struggling, but it's there. It is making them some money. But what's notable from Activision Blizzard right now? Nothing. And then they're closing down studios that they bought because these studios aren't pumping out good games. So they're just closing all these studios down, and that's the end of them. So, so I'm just looking at some of these, like, for example, State of Decay. When's the next one coming out? It's been in development for how many years? How does no one have control of what's going on? They bought all these companies, and no one's under control of any of these. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, someone just said it. Overwatch. Overwatch in the last decade went from culturally relevant phenomenon to no one cares about Overwatch anymore. Every other game surpassed them. That's the legacy of Xbox, and that's the legacy of Phil Spencer being in charge. Everything tanked. But again, he looked good because he looked like a gamer, right? He acted like a gamer. He presented himself like a gamer, so no one cares. Well, maybe we should have. Maybe we should have said, wow, the writing's on the wall. This guy is a jackass, doesn't know what he's doing, right? Probably was surrounded by yes men and yes women, right? Brings in Sarah Bond, makes her the president. What did she do? Nothing. She just sat there and said what she was told to say. She literally doesn't do any work. She just sits there and talks. Wow. So, yeah, that's what's going on. You know, do I feel confident? No, I don't. And it's sad because when I was a YouTuber back in the day, when I started on YouTube, right, it was a very exciting time to be a gaming YouTuber because you had the launch of the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Wii U, and you had this triple competition going on, right? And it was everyone was innovating. Everyone was making great new franchises, great new games. That ecosystem of constant competition with each other worked very well. It made it so that each company wanted to one-up the other, and each company wanted to do better. And so you had this innovative game would come out, then this new game feature, a console feature would come out. It was amazing. There was so much to cover in a very short period of time. It was hard to even figure out what to play or what hardware to cover or what to do. Today, it's the complete polar opposite. All the games that are released are very samey. They all follow the same formula. They're all trying to play it safe to just find a way to make money. The games that come out today are money first and notoriety or cultural relevance later. And that's not what you're supposed to do with something that's supposed to be a work of art. If it's a work of art and a piece of entertainment, it's supposed to be relevant first. And then because it's relevant, it sells well. And then you make your profit. Now, how do we design this game to print the money? And then hopefully it sticks and people will play it for a long time. That's not the way of a successful game. But that's how they've all gone. And now, with Xbox being so irrelevant, right? To be honest, now you have lack of innovation, right? You have Nintendo, who's incredibly stagnant. Nintendo has stopped trying to innovate. I mean, they just made their new console. What is it, the Switch 2? How is it different from Switch 1? It's not. It's like the Switch, it's like Switch 1 Pro, right? Switch 2 is not innovative at all. They didn't even try. They didn't even try to add a feature to make it new or relevant or different. They just said, here's another version of Switch, better graphics, go play more first-party games. And the first-party games are underwhelming, not very good, not a great value for what they're charging for them. It's become an expensive venture to do anything Nintendo, and the quality's not even there anymore. Well, what about PlayStation? Well, yeah, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro is the place to be if you're a console gamer, for sure. But what's happened is because there's no longer this direct competition between, say, Sony exclusive games and Xbox exclusive games, every game's just kind of samey now, and no one really cares to make anything good. So here's the next new AAA game, Neo 3. Neo fucking 3? They made 3 of these fucking things? Why? Why are we playing the third installment of the game that should have died at part 1? Because there's nothing else. There's literally nothing else out there AAA to play. We do have the rise of indies, that's for sure, but indies are prominent on PC. In a console ecosystem, you need something to play, so people just buy whatever's new because it's just out. Not even because it's fucking relevant or you need to play it, just because it is. That's not good. There used to be so many innovative, great games. Again, Xbox had Halo, God of War, Gears of War. Sony had God of War, a whole bunch of fucking platformers. Remember, they had franchises like Killzone, Infamous, Uncharted, Nintendo with all of their amazing first-party games. Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Metroid. I could go on and on. Today, we have lost almost all of these notable franchises, or it takes so goddamn long for a new installment to come out, you forget they even exist. When's the next God of War coming out? Well, we got a reboot trilogy coming out. And we got no. When's the next new God of War coming out? Xbox is working on Halo. Xbox is working on a new Gears of War. We don't have any release dates for them. This is a fucking problem. How is it that 10, 15 years ago when I started as a YouTuber, things were booming and burgeoning and exploding with innovation and awesome first-party titles and all this stuff. And now it's 2026, and it's kind of like, meh. Here we are. It's the 25th of February, and we're finally on Friday going to get the first really big game of this year, Resident Evil Requiem. It took 2 months for one notable game to actually release this year. That's awful. It used to be every month there'd be 2-3 big ones, and everyone would be talking about them, and it would be a cultural phenomenon because everyone is playing the big game and talking about it. How often can you even say you get that feeling anymore? In fact, this year, in 2026, how many big games are you feeling are going to come out? Resident Evil, GTA 6. What else? Now, we may have some surprise great games. Crimson Desert is looking really good. Is that a first-party title that you need to buy a console for? Hence my point. The whole thing's changed. It's crazy, okay? And I don't even know what else to say besides, I think they did it to themselves. It's not that gaming changed or culture changed. The companies changed. The companies became so trend chasing and chasing profits rather than chasing innovation and chasing creativity and actual fun and value for the gamer, that they lost the whole idea of what you're supposed to do. If you're a game developer, if you're a game publisher, and if you're a console designer, you have one sole job: to delight and entertain the customer base. If you delight and you entertain your customer base, they will come back to you time and time again. They will have a loyalty to you, and they will spend money on your works every single time, right? The era of the Xbox versus the Sony ponies, those were people who had passion and loyalty to those brands because they felt like the franchises were worth it, the people were behind them. It was like a big cultural thing, right? And they lost that. How do you piss that away? That relevance, that loyalty that they had, they pissed it away by chasing profits after profits after profits. Phil Spencer looked like a gamer, but he was just a facade. He was a corpo too. People just didn't realize it because he had hours on his account, right? Oh, look, his Xbox account. He plays games. It doesn't fucking matter if all that he's chasing is profits. And that's what happened is, well, we could be putting out all these awesome games, but instead, let's chase the money. And when you chase the trends and you chase the money, you fail. It's happened time and time again, especially in the gaming industry. The problem is you take too long. For example, if you chase a gaming trend, it takes you several years to make a game. By the time the game comes out that you're trying to copy the trend of, the trend is over. So every time that these companies try to do something like this, it's too late. Instead, you should focus on the innovation you have, the talent you have, and let that grow and let them do awesome things. And that didn't happen. Instead, Xbox went on a spending spree, went on a games anywhere mentality, and destroyed the whole value proposition that ever existed in owning an Xbox console. Phil Spencer looked like a gamer, but instead he took a really risky gamble to try to transform his company into something that it wasn't, and now he's gone. And we may have an entire generation of gamers who will never feel what it was like back in the day when you actually had the big three competing. It was amazing to have Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation all at each other's throats, trying to innovate, trying to throw out great games, trying to throw out great hardware. It felt amazing. It made it awesome to be a gaming YouTuber. Today, it's like, well, you play what's out there, but don't expect anything great. 9 times out of 10, the game's going to be underwhelming. It's going to try to copy another game and not innovate whatsoever, and it's going to be a waste of your time. That's not a good feeling to have. Do you feel confident as a consumer to go drop $70 on a game today? No, and most people don't. Most people are like, man, play it for an hour on Steam. I hope I can refund it when it sucks. That's not a good feeling. It's again, and who's to blame? The people in charge, these corpos, the people who don't understand gaming. So, yeah, this is the end of an era for Xbox for sure. Phil Spencer's out, Sarabon's out. We got someone in charge who runs AI. I don't feel good about that at all. I feel like this is the beginning of the end, and that there's either got to be one or two things that happen. Either they actually start listening directly to the feedback of the customer and immediately make sweeping changes and start pumping out good first-party games again. Or within a 5-year period, they sunset Xbox entirely. It rides into the sunset as an afterthought. No one cares about Xbox ever again. And they just basically distribute games via Game Pass. And that's it. And then Microsoft focuses on AI, and all these years that Xbox was culturally relevant just get pissed away. It's going to go one way or the other way. I don't know which. I don't even want to guess because sadly, I tend to be more pessimistic these days. I want to see Xbox relevant again. I want to see games under the Xbox library be prominent. I want to see another awesome Gears of War that's actually good. I want to play another awesome Halo. But I'm not seeing it possible. They had opportunity to do that and they failed miserably. So, yeah, I mean, I'm curious what everyone has to say. Now I've talked for about an hour straight about this topic, and I'm curious what everyone's opinions are on the current situation. Mozzie just did a $2 super chat, says, if Xbox doesn't make you CEO, it's over, pack it up. Well, they're not making me CEO. Hence the problem with these companies. They don't actually reach out to people who know what the fuck is going on in gaming or even have their finger on the pulse of gaming. They hire corpos. They hire people who are like either yes men butt kissers, which is probably what Phil Spencer was, which is why he got in there, even though he wasn't a rich bitch. He got in there probably because he's been working there for so long, always kissing butt, and he's a nice-looking guy who can stand there with a shirt and a jacket on and look like a normal guy, right? Or you're literally part of the upper echelon class who stay in those positions of power and fail up, which is what they call it, the Sarah Bond class. Went to every expensive and fucking rich school possible, and then immediately get thrown into positions of power at every company I've ever been and jump around all these companies, despite the fact that my impact never actually is anything positive, but I keep getting these jobs. Huh? That's who they have in charge of these companies, you know? They don't hire normal people. They won't. They don't want normal people in charge of these companies. They don't, because you're supposed to answer to stockholders. You're supposed to answer to people who are just foaming at the mouth for money. Normal people don't think that way, right? Normal people think, oh, well, I love games. I have passion for games. Let's make some good games. And then the stockholders say, what are you talking about? How are you making money today? Huh? But I thought we're in the business of making games. No, we're in the business of money. That's all they think. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this whole situation? Well, there you go. Someone just said, well, they're in the business of making money just like this stream. Ah, you're right. But what's different about this stream and just making money, right? Have you not noticed in the past couple of years the things that I've been through, the things that I've said and done, and how I've conducted myself, how I've purposefully got myself out of harmful content and drama? I had opportunity to go on LolCow Live. I had opportunity to continue to work with Kino Casino, and I had opportunity to do all kinds of harmful drama content, and I don't. Why? Because even though, yes, this is a business, and yes, I want to be profitable, and yes, I want to provide for my family, and I want to be successful, I want to do it in a meaningful and positive manner that helps myself and helps humanity at the same time. I don't want to put out content that hurts others. I don't want to put out stuff just for the sake of getting over, because if I wanted to do that, I would have already done it, and I would be a millionaire. I had opportunity to do it. I could have done it many times over, and every time that opportunity presents itself, I turn it down. Because I don't want to be rich by any means necessary. These companies want to make money by any means necessary, and they don't care how many people they have to hire and fire. They don't care how many divisions they have to crush. They don't care how much shit they have to shovel out to the customer, how many times they rip you off, right? Game Pass was a great value proposition when it started. Today, it's not worth it. You're charging $30+ a month. You've more than doubled the cost of the service, and now it's not a good value proposition for the customer anymore. But they don't care. Why? Money. Anyone else got other stuff to talk about today? Because now we will open up to Q&A for the end of the show and see what you guys want to chat about. So tag me in either chat. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. YouTube chat is dead. Don't ask me why. We have 263 people on YouTube and no one is talking in the chat. What is going on? Why are you guys just sitting there not saying anything? Lance Catamaran, thank you for 100 kicks. I appreciate that, Lance. That's the first kicks of the day. Yeah, YouTube chat is still not moving. What the hell's going on? Anyone alive on YouTube today? Hello? 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 YouTube? Anyone there? What is going on? Kick chat is moving fine. YouTube is just like fucked up. Is it busted or something? What the hell? Well, I tried the new big arch from McDonald's. I'm pretty sure that that's not real, but I'll check into it. Lance Catamaran has now gifted a sub. Thank you to Lance for the first gifted sub today as well. I appreciate that, Lance. Thank you for the kickside support. I already talked about Blue Point Games being shut down by Sony last week. It was actually the major topic of a DSP morning show. So just go back and search the morning shows from last week. It's right in the title, and you will find my opinion on that. Someone just hit me $1. Says, I recommend trying to max out as many classes as possible in Dragon Quest VII. There are classes that unlock as you max out more classes. The game really hits its stride at this point, and I liked the game before, but this really, I'm enjoying maxing out the classes, and I hope that you like the game. Thank you. I mean, we've been waiting 20 hours to be able to customize and start doing the class swaps, so I'm happy that today we're going to do it in the game. It's about time. And I think that the game will pick up as we start to do that. So I'm glad to hear that, and thank you for the $1 tip. Orcs says, I think you're partially correct. Corporate is to make products to make said money. You're right. You're right. That's the idea. They're supposed to be making quality products that people want to consume in order to make profits. That is not what Xbox has been doing. That's the point I'm making. What Xbox is doing, let's buy up companies. Okay, when are the games coming out, right? Well, we're going to position ourselves to be a game distributor. Okay, but where are the products? What product are you providing, right? They're not. What they've done is they changed themselves from being a product-focused company to a service-focused company without realizing that that's going to kill their company. That's what Phil Spencer did. That's his true legacy. He took a company that used to sell games and turned it into, well, we don't make and sell games anymore. We just distribute things through a cloud service and through, Game Pass. Well, that's all well and good, but that's not what any of the employees you just hired do. Like, literally, they spent billions and billions and billions of dollars buying game companies, and then they don't put out games. So what the fuck were you doing? The guy has absolutely no real vision of anything. He just kind of tried a million things. Nothing worked. And now he's gone. Now, there's a flaming bag of dog shit left where Xbox used to be. And either someone's going to put the fire out and right the ship, or that's it. They're just going to throw it out and say, I'm not dealing with this dog shit. And I think that's what Microsoft might end up doing. They just don't want anything to do with it anymore. Someone tipped $1, says, I'm trying to talk in chat, but none of my chats go through. Maybe YouTube shitting the bed. You could be banned. That if you could have been banned at some point, because usually if you try to talk and your chat doesn't go through, it's because you were banned at some point. If you send me the @address of your YouTube channel, I can try to unban you live and see if that's the case. Thanks for the buck, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not. It could be YouTube shit in the bed. I'm not sure. Ice Cream Sandwich did 500 kicks. Says, if you were to take a role in a large gaming company, what do you think you'd be good at and make a meaningful difference at? It depends on the company. It depends on the situation. That's an insane blanket question that cannot be answered on a podcast like this. You'd have to present a specific game company. You'd have to present the situation. Like I already answered the question with Xbox. Xbox, what they need to do is they need to become game-focused again. They need to revive the IPs that failed and died. So Halo, Gears of War, they need to bring back a few more. They need to focus on pumping out great products again that people have value in. So you're going to want to own an Xbox again. Unless they have notable first-party products to sell, they can't be a successful game company. And I would immediately announce the initiative. That's exactly what we're doing. No more with this Xbox everywhere. Everything is an Xbox. Worrying about the cloud. Worrying about all this bullshit. You know what I do? Day one, Game Pass is going down $5 a month across the board for everyone. Why? Because we want to show you the value of being an Xbox customer. We're sorry that we went the wrong way, and we're sorry that we basically screwed you over. This is our way of showing you we care. Please come back to us and get your Xbox Game Pass subscription again. Then immediately force these fucking studios that have been dicking around to start making good games. You go to Bethesda, you go into Todd Howard's office, and you say, you're going to make Elder Scrolls in the next 1.5 years, and you're going to do it right, or I'm going to fucking fire you. Because you're sitting here doing nothing. You're spinning your wheels making games as a service nonsense and garbage. You put out 2 seasons of Fallout, and you don't have a fucking Fallout game. Fuck you. Make a good game, or you're fired. Stop dicking around. And then guess what? All of a sudden, we'll have a new Elder Scrolls, guys. It will come out. No, it wouldn't kill the business. This is the problem. Phil Spencer bought everything and then left everyone to their own fucking devices. Remember, he bought Arcane, right? Arcane was under Bethesda, correct? And then they said they're going to make Redfall. Fucking Phil Spencer came out and was like, oh, Redfall's going to be great and all this. And then it came out a month later and it was dog shit. And he's like, oh, I guess maybe we should have been more hands-on with Redfall. Yeah, you think? You think maybe you should actually have something to do? Like, rather than just sit there with your t-shirt and your jacket and act like you're a gamer? You don't do anything. You're a leader. You're supposed to fucking lead. You're supposed to be looking at all the work going on, having some kind of quality checks, right? You need to figure this shit out. You don't just buy the company and then, okay, do whatever you want. Well, then you're out of business, dumb fuck. I mean, yeah, that's dumb. That's a really dumb way to operate. Buckwell, no, Microsoft should not hire me. Stop that right now. Broden says consoles are a lost leader. You buy franchises, put your games on any platform you can. Industry is tanking for consoles and has been for a while. That is a fair observation. You know, as much as I like to love the days of the console wars and the big three, yeah, things have been changing anyway. You're right. Now that I became a PC gamer, I'm seeing that more at face value than I ever used to do when I was in that tunnel vision of being a console gamer. For sure, I'm definitely seeing that now. But that doesn't forgive the missteps that Phil Spencer made. You know, I'm sorry, he is responsible for Xbox tanking. This is great. Very Epic Man says, so when you run Xbox, will you keep a list of all the HR complaints laid against you for actually making people work? Oh, man. Transgender Asian says, if you get $1,400 of support in a single stream, but you only have 17 live viewers for that stream, and no one is chatting, do you consider the stream a success? The individual stream itself is a success, but that is not going to give me long-term success, and that's the problem. Having momentary success is not good. Momentary success is good in the moment. What you want in any business is long-term success. You want customers that like who you are, like the content or product you're creating, have loyalty to you, and want to come back again and again. If I normally stream to 200 some people on YouTube and 100 on Kick, and I do a stream that only gets 17 viewers, just because one person threw me $1,000 doesn't mean that I did a good job. It means I did a good job for one person, but the thing is, I want to have a bunch of people who are going to come back. That way, it's not all on that one person, because the truth is, even though that one person may have supported me that one day, they're not going to be there every day, right? Just because May Contain Bleach dropped 10 memberships this morning, which was a significant amount of income for me on the stream, doesn't mean that Main Contain Bleach is going to come back tonight or tomorrow and do the same thing. So I need to be making content that's going to appeal to a wider audience so that I could get that long-term success. Or else, success will always be momentary and fleeting. Does that make sense? And that's what I've been trying to do. I'm diversifying myself. I'm making different kinds of content. I play a wide variety of games. Right now I'm doing a podcast, then we're playing a chill RPG, then we're trying indies. Tomorrow we're doing a extraction shooter beta. Friday we're doing survival horror, and there's different audiences for each of that, and maybe someone will come by and support each one of those streams, and it's a different person every time. That's success. As opposed to, well, the one person just wants the one kind of content all day. I'm not doing privatized content for one person, right? That actually, sadly, last year is kind of what happened with the truck sim streams. We had one or two people who would come to every truck sim stream and drop a bunch of support, and everyone else was like, dude, this is boring. Why are you still playing this? Like, well, it's getting support. But that doesn't mean long-term success. It just means as long as that one or two people come, they're going to support that project. But I can't do it forever. I had to make the decision to end it because it just wasn't going to work forever, right? There you go. Yes, I'm playing Crimson Desert on release day. Absolutely I am. I'm actually excited for it because it looks so good. It doesn't guarantee it's going to be good, and that's part of the fun of trying out a game like that. That's a kind of a question mark, an anomaly. We don't know if it'll be good or not, and we'll find out together live on release day. Hopefully it ends up being a delightful, great game like Clair Obscur, Blueprints, and stuff like that caliber, as opposed to a Mind's Eye. There you go. What is this song? It's a good question. Electronic drum, high energetic EDM. Great song. That's my favorite one. How dare you bring up the Cosby Suite? How dare you bring that up? How offensive. I don't know. I don't know why there's someone singing in this song. I didn't make the song. It is bizarre. I agree with you. It's very odd. Oh, it's like a little kid. Resident Evil Requiem comes out on Friday. I'm going to be playing it all day on Friday, both streams. Do I have anything positive to say about Phil Spencer? Yeah, I mean, here, listen. Even though I just ragged on him for an hour, Phil Spencer is not an elitist, right? He got to the position he got to, all right, without basically being part of the elite class. Does that make sense? Because there are right now in these corporations, a lot of the people who get these positions is just simply because they're rich already. Oh, I've already been in positions of power and I was handed everything. He didn't. He worked hard to get to where he was. He tried to be a gamer and a corpo at the same time, and I think what happened is he proved it doesn't really work. He had some good ideas. Game Pass is a great idea. That value proposition for a customer that they spend a small amount a month but get access to all of these games, that's a good one. And the fact that apparently it might have been working, particularly there's many small studios that outright admitted, if we hadn't been part of the Xbox Game Pass ecosystem, we never would have been noticed. No one would have probably bought our game, maybe 1,000 people, and instead we got 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 people to try our game, and now we have notoriety, and now we can make further games. The Game Pass ecosystem got us noticed, got us that attention, and now we're successful. But was that sustainable? And the answer probably is no, because that's why they've doubled the price, and that's why so many people canceled their Game Pass subscriptions, and that's why there's no value anymore in the Xbox name. So he did good things, it's just that he didn't really maintain them or make them long-term viable. And that's not good, Well, that's the thing, too. Doomer Cabot says, well, why own your games? Am I right? Well, the thing is, you think you own your games, and you don't. You don't own any games. You don't. Right now, you own 0 video games. What you own are licenses to play the games. And those licenses can just be taken away from you at any moment. And unless you file a lawsuit, you're not getting it back. Right? Like right now, excuse me, I own a library of games on Steam, on the Xbox Store /app, on the PlayStation Network, and on Nintendo Switch Online. Okay? I do. So, let's say, for example, right now, on a whim, PlayStation Store says, we're closing. We're closing. We're shutting down the service. Well, what about all the games that I bought over the years? We're shutting down the service. You don't have access anymore. What do you mean? I spent money. I own all those licenses. Yeah, but the service won't exist. You bought a license for a service we're shutting down. And we own the service, and we have the right to shut it down whenever we want. Immediately, customers might be in an uproar and be like, what are you, crazy? And then they might file a class action lawsuit, and it'll take years to go through. But that's really the state of gaming. Any game that you think you own, you don't own. You own a license to play that game. When you're on Game Pass, you have a monthly license that expires at the end of the month unless you renew your Game Pass. If you buy the game outright, you own a permanent license as long as that service still exists. But the day that Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Valve, or anyone says, we're closing shop, you lose all your licenses. They're gone. And the only way you can get them back is to sue. That's the state of video games. You don't own anything. That's just how it is. That's the ecosystem we live in as gamers. Then why buy games? So you can have access to play them. Right? So you have legal access to play them, I should say. Because you can still have access to play them, you just have to bypass the law, which would be piracy, right? And if you say, well, I don't get that, because someone just said, well, if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. That's a philosophy that you can abide by, but you'd be skirting the law. The law says you cannot just steal games. So you can be Robin Hood if you want, And you can live by that philosophy, but then you're liable to any of the laws of the land, and you might go to jail for what you're doing when you steal games. You know, that's the risk you take in life. You can live by your philosophy, but if your philosophy isn't in line with the laws of the land, you should still go to jail, right? Like your philosophy may be, I'm free to do whatever I want. If I eat this chocolate bar, I'm free to just throw this wrapper on the ground. And you can do that in the United States and no one will give a shit. And then you go to Singapore and you do it and they arrest you and they publicly cane you right in front of everybody. Because that's the rule of the law there. You know, their law is you litter, you get fucked up. So it's your decision how to live your life, you know. But then you take the chance of you're going to have to pay the consequence for what you're doing depending on where you are. Have I ever owned a denim handcart? Sadly, no. I wish. That's an idea. Why don't we take all the memes about me and combine them all into one? So what's another good one? What's another meme? We got the denim handcarts. What else can we combine into this meme? Let's think about it. Wrist rests. We can have a denim handcart full of wrist rests and push it around. My hairline. How would that tie into the handcart, though? Darn it. Anyway. But yeah, let's do it. Let's combine them all. Why not? Why are you guys doing all emotes on the YouTube side? Everyone's posting in emotes. Lalafell, what's wrong? Why are you posting loading symbols? What is going on the YouTube side? Is it all screwed up or something? I don't know what's going on the YouTube side. If you guys can type or what, I don't know. Everyone's using emotes. Are you saying you're not able to talk? Is no one on the YouTube side able to type or talk? Because I didn't do that. Maybe YouTube chat is glitched out or something? Can anyone on the YouTube side type any text, or are you only able to do emotes? What the hell happened? What is going on? People are only typing emotes, so I think it's fucked up on the YouTube side. Kieski was able to type words, but only Kieski? All right, one more person was able to type words. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. That's bizarre. Well, apparently if you guys can type words, you're lucky. I don't know what's going on there. Some people can't type words. They can only type emotes. And others can type words, but that's weird because I didn't change any settings. Yeah. My text went through. I was able to type it. I refreshed the screen and I was able to type. But so only a few people can type. What's going on? Did the mobile app crash? Is that what it is? I wonder if the mobile app is messed up and you can only type emotes in mobile right now. Let me see. Are you guys on mobile? Is that what it is? Shock says it's broken. I'm trying to tune into my own stream. Let's see here. Okay, I'm on my own stream now. There's the music. My own message didn't go through. What the hell? Yeah, my own messages don't go through. Yeah, so the mobile app has crashed. For some reason on the mobile app, you guys can only type emotes. But it does work on desktop. Because I just typed in desktop and it worked. But the mobile viewers can't type words. I just tried in my own chat with my other account and it doesn't work. Now that's weird. Here, I'll put up a pasted message. Wait, what? I can't pin my own message? Go to channel, put user in timeout, or hide on the channel. I can't even pin my own message. What the hell did they do? Wait a minute. My message didn't even go through. Oh, my own messages aren't going through either. My message didn't go through in chat either. I just typed it and wanted to pin it, and it didn't go through. What is happening, man? That's why I can't pin it. Wow, this is awful, actually. So, this is going to suck on the YouTube side. I can't see you guys talking. I can only talk with people on Kick today until they fix the chat. The chat has completely crashed on YouTube side. I can't even post up a freaking pinned message. What in the hell? This sucks. Yeah, it doesn't work. Caliban, I could see that, yes. So, for you guys that are typing and your text is going through, how are you guys typing? Because my text isn't even going through. See, I could pin Caliban's message. What the hell? You're on mobile? Oh, wait, is it working? No. Some messages are, very few messages are making it through. What the heck is going on, man? Well, I'm going to go on a break soon anyway. I mean, this is a mess. They effed it up. What did they do? Once again, YouTube is a mess. Once again, I mean, geez. I'm just, for the record, I'm checking around here to make sure that everything is fine everywhere. Yeah, everything here looks good. Yeah, everything here seems to be working fine. Yeesh, I don't know. How does YouTube manage to screw stuff up so often? I don't know. It's just another case that they goofed something, and now no one can talk properly. Yeah. Sheesh. Well, Kick is working fine. YouTube is like at half capacity. Many of you cannot type on YouTube. You can only use emotes, and I'm sorry for that, obviously. That's not intended. I don't know what the hell is going on the YouTube side. That's a joke. Sheesh. All right, here's what we'll do. Let's end today's show. All right, now here's the deal. I'm not doing a podcast for the next couple of days. Tomorrow and Friday will be the DSP morning show. Each day, we'll just hang out for like a half an hour to an hour, hopefully on the shorter side, because we want to get to the content. Tomorrow, it's the Marathon Beta. Friday, obviously, it's Resident Evil Requiem, right? So those are going to be exciting streams, and I hope that you guys will join me for them. It should be a good time. And we will return with the Level 1 podcast on Sunday. That podcast should be a really good one because I'm going to summarize my thoughts both on the Marathon Beta and Resident Evil Requiem in one kind of big show to let you know what I think. All right? So that should be good. And thank you guys for a great show. I hope that you enjoyed my covering and or my opinions on the whole Xbox debacle. By all means, please leave comments on this video. If you can, I don't even know if you'll be able to. Chat's screwed up. I don't know if you can leave comments on videos right now either. That could actually be broken too. Because for those who don't know, the chat room on any YouTube stream is also exactly the same system as comments on YouTube videos. So it could be that someone on YouTube was coding and broke the system. And now people can't talk in the comments either. Who knows? But yes, John, we can see your messages. We can see John. We can see Shocks. We can see Gaia1. And Bananas Jose. And I think that's it. I think there's only 4 people that can type right now. I just typed a message in chat. Did anyone see it? No, it's not visible. Nope. Wow. So, yeah, that sucks. Well, guys, sorry for that. Obviously, hopefully this doesn't break all of YouTube, because who knows if people can even contribute right now if they wanted to. I have no idea. That's going to suck if the rest of the stream is dead now because of this, but anyway, the podcast will return on Sunday, but I urge you to check out all my content in the next couple of days. The morning shows should be good. The gameplay should be good. Everything should be good. Okay, everybody? All right. Thank you so very much for watching the Level 1 podcast this morning. I think it's time to get the heck out of here. What do you think? I think so. All righty. Well, everyone, thank you for joining me for the Level 1 podcast. I will see you Sunday, but in the meantime, hopefully you'll check out all this stuff, and I'll be back soon. See you then. Bye-bye.